without this moment is so important, and we're so thankful you're here, but we must take action moving forward. I'll end my words with that, but a couple of things. As we exit today, it is of utmost importance that we do it peacefully, succinctly, and safely as possible. If you are someone who does not feel safe walking to your vehicle alone, stay put, and someone with a green bracelet will walk with you. We're taking this very seriously.
And welcome to another episode of My Idaho Friends. I am your host, Jaime Lima. Tai, I do not want to steal the slightest of thunders away from you. So, who is Tai Simpson, the storyteller? Please share with us.
Well, let me start that in my language. Inim winikwas atitwatit inwas nimipu ayet inim nixasa hiwis timina ilp kanich and aloitsa kida. I'm happy to be here. My name is the storyteller. I am a citizen of the Nimipu Nation. To the colonizers, we call that the Nez Perce tribe. In English, my name is Tai Simpson. I respond to either name, storyteller, Tai, Your Highness, Goddess Divine, etc.
It's a question, but it's not a question that I'm asking you to answer right now. It is, I am trying to get you hooked. I am trying to get you to like me. That will be important to me.
You're still on the fence, man. Daniel hasn't said yes or no, so I am still on the fence, and I hope you heard that.
Shout out to Coach Daniel at SBE. And that's how I know about Tai, not only about her fine work, but she can also hit some pads like nobody else's business. So yeah, to our combat fitness community here, SBG Idaho, much love, friends. Mm-hmm. It is really important to me, and I will tell you offline through a different conversation. And it should be important to everybody, of course, not just me. This is certainly not about me, but why are Indigenous brothers and sisters an afterthought? Why are not the original Americans after we know everything that we know now? Because there's so much knowledge. You know, ancient Greece used to pray to an oracle that was not real, and now granted there's a lot of misinformation. I get that. There's some gaslighting going on now that we know what gaslighting is, guys. You see what I'm getting at? But why is it so difficult? And that's not the question for right now. I am just really trying to get you to come back.
I'm going to give you a metaphor to answer that. So we're not going to go into it, but I'll give you a metaphor for that.
Shoot.
If you were an asshole and you walked into a house to steal everything out of that house, would it be easier to do it if there were the family that lived there? Or would it be easier if it was empty? Yeah, that's why.
Go on.
They don't want us in the house.
Cabinet sausage.
Can I have more cabinet sausage, please? Thank you.
Telaya wine, Earl, Carrie, and the family and crew.
Oh, I love it. I love that we have Telaya. It's one of my faves.
We love you guys. Don't get mad at me. Picked up my case yesterday. I'm pretty happy. Last question before we take that 90-degree pivot. Okay. And we all take a deep breath. You probably don't need it, but I do.
No, I need a deep breath for sure.
I am definitely not. I'm not as strong as I thought I was. As I think I am.
I am a tornado and a hurricane, man.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. You know, and so everybody, do perspective for people that are watching. You know, Wendy, your sister, you know, who is not on camera right now, is like, you don't want to, or it was you don't want to tell a predator that you're scared, which I love. I absolutely love that. Because I actually think of myself in that realm, and I think it's important sometimes where like myself, when I look back and where I am right now, and just having the ability to be like, Jaime, fucking learn something. So I loved every second of that interaction. That was cool, and you're always welcome to do that in this segment here with us at any time. Okay. And I not only say welcome, but it's encouraged.
Yeah, I'd probably do it and ask forgiveness anyway. So, thank you for giving me permission, though.
Hey, gaslighting.
Gaslighting.
Oh!
You're winning at gaslighting tonight.
I know, everybody's learning so much. If there's anything that is gonna go like white supremacy, like fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, like the struggle of the freaking indigenous people, you know, which are very, very important. But gaslighting, we covered that well.
Yeah.
And the last
you,
question,
yes.
which is like, you know, this is kind of like a bit of a tutti frutti question. It matters, but I'm just out of curiosity. It could be that you just don't know, and then the answer is no. I mean, I don't fucking know, and that's fine too.
Okay.
But you know all the things. Are you aware, or do you know, as Wendy laughs in the background, I like your sister. She crushed my hand, by the way, guys.
Same.
We're all gonna be friends. Is there anywhere outside of the United States, or maybe perhaps somewhere within the United States, Konos or Okonos, continental United States, outside of continental United States, is there a place that is trying to do it right? Is there a place that is doing it right? Is it in Fiji? Is it? I don't know. You could. The Argentinians turning it around, or is there some other country that I don't know the name of that is just doing it better than everybody else? Perhaps Singapore. I am curious as to if there's. Where's the hope? Where's the example? Okay.
Where's the hope? Yeah.
You see where I'm getting at? Because I know I downplay myself a lot, and I do that on purpose because I want my audience to be cool with it. You know.
Fun
It's just
fact:
like-
self-deprecation is a trauma response, but we're going to save that for another
That is
conversation too.
fucked up.
You're welcome.
No,
You're welcome.
No, welcome at all.
Again, another conversation.
Another conversation. Oh God! So there's a whole case of wine after this. But yeah, but like seriously, like where's the hope? And if there's not, are we doing a good job creating that hope here?
I spent some time in October at the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Conference on the Coeur d'Alene Indian Reservation, hosted by their Stop Violence program. Bernie is their executive director and now one of my auntie matriarchs, and I just have a deep love for her. She brought in a panel of speakers that shared the most raw, painful, excruciating stories of violence and trafficking and rape and abandonment I had ever heard in close proximity like that in my life. And I was emceeing the whole thing, right? So in real time, I'm trying to hold space. But there was this little old woman, I think she said she was 74 years old. And she finished this really, really painful story. And at the end, before she passed the mic back, she's like, but you know, there's always hope and there's always love. Sorry, that might choke me up a little. But to hear that from a woman who's 74 years old, who made it through forced sterilization, who made it through the boarding schools, who made it through Indian relocation, her own instances of sexual trafficking and violence and abuse, and at 74 still hung on to hope and to love. So yes, there is always hope and there's always love. And so where I look for those things is what changes, like, and influences and informs my work, right? As long as there's trees, as long as there's grass, as long as there's air, as long as these rivers are barreling through these mountains, there's hope and there's love, because they were here before all of us, right? They sustain who we are as humanity. So there is always hope and there's always love. In a more practical sense, Hawaii is building these community programs unlike I've ever seen before in my life. Hawaii never conceded their war against the United States. They never gave up. Technically, they're still at war with the United States. So when it comes to their agricultural programs, economic development, agriculture, it's always indigenous led. It is always indigenous Hawaiians who have voices, the strongest voices at that table. If we move further east into Australia and parts of New Zealand, everything there, indigenous-led, amplified indigenous voices. I mean, in any sort of settler colonial society, there's going to be obstacles to that. But by rejuvenating and centering those relationships, you can start to see a lot of progress. You see forests coming back and regrowing. You see plant life that wasn't there before coming back, because the original stewards of that land, who carry 15,000 years of knowledge in their DNA, are now making the decisions about how to take care of that land and take care of their water. So as long as those conversations are happening somewhere in the world, there is always hope. We just don't do it the rest of the United States. We don't do that here.
I had my grandmother told me a story that I am most certainly not ready to share on camera, and I know that's kind of seems like leading to it, but you sharing this story about the lady, and I'm angry because we were, and I know this is out of context to our viewers right now. In a combination of my grandparents and the reason that I have been able to generate some success for myself and my family, my children. There's a toll that we all pay, and it's really difficult to make some of my friends understand that they didn't have to pay that. And it's really difficult for me to be cool about it. At the end of every show, at the end of the segment a year ago, when I was lucky enough to hook up with Erica and Justin, and it was all just out of pocket. Like we were doing the closing. We were doing the closing for the first episode, at the space bar, and it's just a different time. It was a year ago, and I just out of nowhere, I was just, in Idaho, when you get a chance, get out there and be kind to somebody. And I have to fucking say it because I'm fucking pissed, and I have to remind myself that I have to be fucking kind.
Mm-hmm.
You attract more bees with honey and all this other stuff, and then a lot of the number of things, that are experienced. I'm not alone to it. We all had that veteran experience and all that other jazz. And again, it's not about me, but the story that you share about that lady is a direct parallel to something that my grandmother shared with me that she has not shared with any of her children. I was raised by my mother and my grandparents, and she's 95 now, still kicking, and in Panama, along with my mother. And I idolized my grandfather, who I did not know until much later in life as an adult that he was incredibly abusive, but to me was wonderful. And there's always these parallels, and it's never black and white. It's always gray, and you have to find a way to make peace with that. And while I try to make peace with that, it's really difficult to not have that feeling that you want to burn the world. And to find a kind way to share that in a way that can be shoot up so they can fucking digest it.
Mm-hmm.
When they should be fucking chewing it themselves.
Yeah. And at what cost to you?
So,
What
we're a live
cost?
show. Cabinet Sausage is running wild over here. We're going to take a big 90-degree turn with this. All right? That was not the plan. Again, this is never about me. It's always about the guests. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this right. Now, we are going to show a video at the very, very end. Maybe.
We need confirmation.
Erica is trying to find out that we're going to need confirmation, so we're waiting that confirmation. So, okay, so.
Do you want us to ask her live?
Regardless.
I mean, we can. You just want to shout her out live?
No, we're not going to do that, even though I'm not opposed to it. I just think that, like, she did it. It's like the storyteller. You're the queen over here.
I kind of Jedi mind tricked you a little bit, Jaime. So being a storyteller isn't me just running my mouth. Being a storyteller means that I'm deliberately creating spaces that are safe and that are healing and that are open so that you can also share your stories. So whether you were prepared for that or not, that is exactly what I do for people. And I have gratitude that you shared that story. So we should acknowledge that. And your elder, your matriarch, it's powerful for you to share her story and her experience here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was very kind of you, because of that kindness and shit. We're gonna take a 90-degree. I like to do everything off just the top of my head. That's how people get impressed, because they're like, he can do it. But here I am. But this time I do have to have a little bit of a reference. This is not my wife is texting me. That's not why I'm doing this right now. So there's sorry. So there's a piece that you shared that then I shared after I read it, and I want to touch on it a little bit because that's what's going to lead to a more local, a more relevant discussion that I've been having with people. One that has, at least within my circle, I do business here in Boise. I do business here in Idaho.
I heard.
And a little bit here and there. And, and some people, are like, oh, Jaime, we have so much in common. And we do. And then some things is where it's like this line in the sand in which can we please grow together? Mm-hmm. I'm not coming from a place of hate. I'm not judging you. I'm not pointing the finger. But I am taking a breath because I need to. And if you could please join me on taking that breath, and then perhaps, learn and grow a little bit together, then we can all get together into a better place. Mm-hmm. And that's just the best that I can do. And
that's the best end goal, that we're better together.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So the name of the piece is "Let It Burn" by Robert Jones, right? And this is June 8, 2020 piece. All right. I can read a little bit about it, or I know it's probably fresh in your memory. Would you like me to touch on some highlights, or would you want to tackle that piece a little bit?
Well, it depends on what kind of response you want to it. I vacillated a few different ways. My dad sent me an email in response to that article. My dad is very much a conservative black man for the most part. Okay. Not colorblind by any stretch, but he's definitely more conservative than I am. So I can share those responses. I can share my responses. So what?
Here's the piece. Here's the because I'm not going to just sit here and read the whole thing, and then we're going to try to digest that. When this really is just going to be the catalyst for our next conversation. So we're not going to actually spend too much time in this.
Okay.
Now, Erica, can you give me a time check, please?
We are at 7 o'clock.
Okay. So we're pushing.
Really?
We might have to. When you're having fun.
Hey.
I wanted to say you're welcome, but I didn't.
I might have Hulk smashed your table. Too much gaslighting for one night.
We're done. We are done, audience. So you guys got it. Everybody learned. So I quoted this because I think it's what's going to be most relevant as we we take this turn. And out of the whole article, I quoted within my post. If we are to accept that this is what justice looks like in a penal and punitive nation like the United States of America, the question for me is then, why isn't it applied unilaterally?
Mm-hmm. Yo.
Do you want me to give the audience a little bit more of a warm and fuzzy of what the article is, or should we just go off of that?
Let's go off of that. So
Wonderful.
Before I do, I'm going to reiterate the name of that article. It is entitled "Let It Burn" by Robert Jones, and it was written 2 days ago. Give it a Google, give it a read, breathe, eat, drink, and then read it again. Don't rely on your first responses to that article.
And if you're not following Tai Simpson or Jaime Lima, yours truly over here on social media, make sure you do so because it's there.
It's there. It's there. I share all the resources. So to preface that excerpt that you read, Jones was talking about how we have a punitive criminal justice system. I don't even want to call it a justice system, a criminal response system. Let's call it that. Where black folks, 13% of the population, 40% of the population in prisons, which is completely unacceptable. And I'm going to give you two specific examples. we remember not long ago when there was the white woman, I believe she's an actress, who spent, 30 some odd $1,000 to have the dean of some sport or coach of some sport lie about her son so her son could get into a particular school. She got like $15,000 fine and like a few weeks in jail. There was another black woman, or a different, no, that was a white woman, now the black woman. Black woman lied about her child's address, used her sister's street address so that child could go to a different and better school. That woman is in jail for 6 years. Sorry, I wanted to cuss so bad. 6 years.
6 fucking years.
6 fucking years.
Yeah.
We also have examples of women who violently defend themselves from rape or trafficking and then catch a case for defending themselves in the event they kill their assailant and then spend their entire lives in prison, right? We have black men who are arrested and put in prison for marijuana possession, personal use marijuana possession, and go to prison for 5 to 10 years. I think it's minimum 5 years in Idaho. I could totally be wrong about that. But we're out here just having a good damn time passing all of these cannabis laws, having Apple stores that are actually selling cannabis, right? But we're still not releasing all of these black and brown folks from prison. We have a problem with our criminal response and punitive justice system in the United States, and it is not applied unilaterally. Brock Turner, that is the one that fucking infuriates me to my core. He raped a woman and served less time than this COVID pandemic has been affecting us.
Because the judge said, what a bright future that we're gonna take away from this mother effer.
Yeah. So in court, right, a judge will look at a white man and say, what is his future going to look like? But
You swim fast, bro. You swim fast. It's just so...
Yeah, we
What a
look at black
future.
men and we're
What a
like,
future.
well, he had this history of all this dirtbag shit.
Yeah.
And one of the other things too that we don't talk about is like the level of drug use in white communities that just goes unseen, right? Cocaine, methamphetamine, that's a huge problem in Idaho in predominantly white communities, but nobody wants to talk about that here. So that's the thing, and our response to it isn't equal. There's no equity in our justice system, and that's garbage to me. And if we're seeing anything, and there's always the reminder, we can't uphold a justice system, a law enforcement system, if it is not applied equitably across all communities, right? We just watched a cop kill a man on video. Over and over and over again, we saw that.
Yeah.
And the only thing the media wants to tell us was how many charges he had caught prior.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah. It reminds me to a recent article in where I believe, I'm not gonna Google it. I'm just gonna try to go off the top of my head. New York, I believe, like the head of the union for police officers, and it's just like, we're being made out to be animals.
Oh, fuck that guy, and fuck that
savages,
montage.
and
Yeah.
all this other
Yeah,
shit, right?
I know that video.
And it's like, and of course, hard to believe your boy loves citations.
Yeah.
I never finished college, so I just get so underestimated. But that's okay. I'm a layman's man. I'm just a simple guy.
Yeah, no, college isn't any indicator of intelligence. I hope you know that. Let me say that one more time for the camera.
I know.
College is not an indicator of intelligence, y'all. Continue.
And I am not complex.
Yeah.
I'm a simple man. Cabinet sausage drink.
Cabinet sausage cocktails. I'm here for it.
Amazing. Go to Talaya Wine, get yourself a case. You're welcome.
Yeah.
It'll get you through these times. And, their plight is like, we're here, we're serving the community, all these things that go right and nobody's talking about, all the work that we do that goes right and nobody's talking about. And you know what?
Jaime, you know what? I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry. This is going to be me getting on my soapbox really quick.
Do it.
Okay, so here we are.
Wait. So, but I think, okay, because I know you get it, and this is not for you.
This is about to be for all of these folks right here.
Right, this is not for you. So
Okay.
actually, in the most respectful way, actually do let me finish it.
Okay, go ahead.
Because that's, I don't want to say they, because I don't want to be attacking anybody. But there's a lot of people that I care about, that I hold dear, that are part of my community. People that like me, people that are friends, people that I do business with, and they're just probably right now a little bit upset at me because they probably do not know, nor do they understand why I feel the way I feel, and why you and I are having this conversation. So I actually think you know, in all your strength, you know, as a storyteller, you know, and the person that you hear you are, because you are my guest, so you always get your way. But please do let me finish this thought, because it's not for you and I, it's for the people watching that perhaps may be sitting on the fence.
Okay, please do.
Thank you. They do not take the time. Critical thinking. Not everybody does it. I get it. Analyzing the information. Not everybody gets it. I take it. And looking at citations. Not everybody gets it. I get it. But what about the plight of, you know, whether, you know, or brothers and sisters of color, minorities, people in inner cities? Okay, if you read that article here in Idaho, I was like, well, yeah, well, our police here, you know, they're not perfect. They're pretty effing good compared to a lot of other police departments, you know. And there's no, I'm not saying that they're, listen, because I do have friends in the police department, and I know their heart.
This is why I wanted to get to my point before your point. Finish your point, and then I will jump in.
And everybody grows, and everybody, we have to grow together. We have to grow together. But why are we not thinking about like all the decades upon decades upon decades in which it's like, well, clearly, you know, that's where the crime is coming from the inner city, where the people of color live at. Clearly, that's where, because clearly, if I was doing a crime here in Boise, you know, I'll just be taken away and I'm just gonna get slammed. So just don't do a crime, as to like, you know, in other places, you know, and sometimes even, hopefully knock on wood, not necessarily here, but like racial profiling and anything that comes along with it. Like there's this huge long history of just, you know, not having it be equal. I was like, oh, okay, you know, I mean, the examples that you gave earlier are far better than what I'm trying to vocalize here. But that particular article really effing pissed me off, because right now, there is, right, there's momentum. People are absorbing information as much as possible, far more, at least from a personal observation. And some people are just like, well, what do I do? You know, and I even have a couple of friends. So what do I do? I was like, oh, you're asking me because because why? Because I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, and gosh, getting into an argument. Like, why are you turning your social media profile black, bro? Was it because I'm actually gonna try to do something? Okay, like I'm just not like bandwagons and barwagons, and thank you for your support, and that's awesome and that's great. But like perhaps, you know, there's something a little bit more substantial than changing the fucking color on the goddamn fucking profile thing, you know, which is important, but that's just like, I get it, you recognize it, but let's do something. Hence this conversation right here. All right, and it was infuriating to see how many people were like, yeah, let's do point out the good things that are happening. Let's do point out the good work. And it's like, dude, we know there's good work, you know? I actually very, very recently, and I'm talking about last week, had, you know, the Boise Police Department be incredibly helpful with a potentially very dangerous situation that involved my wife and my children. But with their own household, and I happen to know what steps I have to take because of, you know, the things that I used to do. That doesn't matter. So things are in place, and that's no longer an issue. But I couldn't have done it without their help. And my wife feels safe again. My children will never know what the heck happened, and that's fine. And I can finally get at least 4 hours of sleep at night.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
You ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm ready. There's
Cabinet sausage.
Cabinet sausage.
All right. Go ahead and fill that out while I start this. Okay.
I got you.
So here we are. That video montage that we saw of like, we're being bastardized, we're being villainized, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That is an example of gaslighting.
True.
Right. So that was a gaslighting video. Okay.
Boom.
But, so there's another example of gaslighting if you have or have not seen that video on social media. Second piece. What was incredible about that article with regards to letting it burn? I am not going to play this game in the community of like, but there are bad apples and good apples and that kind of thing. Like, all of that language is trash to me, because here's the problem. Police, sheriffs, troopers, agents, marshals, they all represent a giant interconnected system of oppression. They were meant to catch runaway slaves. They were meant to oversee plantations. They were meant to sell bodies on blocks in urban centers. And that's their history. That is their origins. And that we've never moved that needle much far from that over the history of mankind. Yeah, there are great people doing nice shit, but that's also gaslighting, right? Seeing cops take a knee in Portland and then tear gassing the masses for 3 hours after that, also garbage, right? Like, I am really tired of like having to, I think we call it American exceptionalism. Jones talks about it in the article. That is called American exceptionalism. And what we try to do is focus on these singular, awesome, powerful things or nice things that these folks are doing, but they still work for systems that belligerently and obnoxiously kill humans in the name of the law. How is it that police officers in the United States have the least amount of education, but have the most amount of power to enact and enforce laws? That should be terrifying to people. Judges go to school for damn near 10 years of their life and have to practice law for however many years after that before they're even eligible to sit on a bench, right? But we trust and allow this hyper-militarized police agencies to kill and then protect themselves and each other. They just close ranks and try to change the narrative without actually acknowledging the fact that they are doing harm in the community. They are the abusers. They are the assailants. They are the ones who are perpetuating violence in the community. Yes, there are nice people in there, but the institution itself is ugly and angry and broken. And that's why it needs to burn. But here's what people don't do, and this is where my work comes in, right? I'm not going to hang out in the weeds of all of these ugly arguments because I imagine a future where a community can take care of itself. Why? Because indigenous communities have been doing it for 15,000 years before contact. We were policing our own communities. Yes, there were war over resources, but nothing to this like insidious, ugly violence that we've seen since contact. Our communities have always kept things in balance. We give back to each other. Our women are sacred, our elders are sacred, our children are sacred, but we don't have those values anymore. What we have is militarization, blind patriotism, American nationalism, and all of that is poisoning who we are as a community. So what I encourage folks, this is a really hard, ugly journey to sit at our own tables and look at the family that's at the table and talk about what have I internalized from a white supremacy standpoint? How am I oppressing people? What shit race jokes am I telling at work? What women am I harassing just because I think her ass looks good in a skirt, right? Like, what am I just saying is locker room talk? All of that tiny stuff is what we need to talk about in our home communities and within ourselves. And until we do that, these systems are going to stay broken. These systems are going to stay trash. And that's why I say that they need to burn. But there's hope, right? Let's go back to this idea that there's hope.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a nature example. Tornadoes don't ask for an apology. Don't ask for permission. Hurricanes do not ask for an apology or don't ask for permission. Volcanoes don't ask for permission. They just explode and destroy. But in the aftermath, so much incredible, beautiful shit grows out of that. After wildfire, right? The lush growth, the nutrients, everything comes back in an amazing way. But that shit had to burn first. And then what we want and what we hope for can happen.
Right.
And that's where I sit. That's why I'm a radical revolutionary. That's why I get death threats and rape threats and dead animals left at my house. And like I could go into that, but I also right. So for every positive cop story, I have a negative asshole cop story. But I don't. That's not the point of my work.
Right. Right there. Okay. Yeah. No, because I'm not enjoy that drink because that's not what I mean to stop you because that's something that I struggle and I wrestle with. I have very good friends, good dudes, okay, and dudettes. Men and women who, serve in the police force. And I get it, the narrative of just getting out there and you don't know if you're going to come back the next day. I get that and I understand that and I respect that and I get that. But having the very difficult conversation, and because everybody gets turned off as soon as you say the system, right? The system. But looking back as to where it came from and where we're at right now, what has changed and what has not changed. My I'm not gonna say names, but like my friends within the Boise Police Department, these are people that I'm gonna have perhaps a bottle of cabinet sausage. I hope still, because I love them, and it's not that I want to like beat up on the police departments, all over the country. That not many people are watching this, but what happens now is that, and again, to quote somebody else that everybody knows and not me, it's like it's being filmed now. It's been filmed. this has been here all along.
Yes.
Okay.
That part.
You know,
That part.
and other things. You know, we have grown so much in our comfort. A lot of it due to technology. You know, and it's like, you know, I get into these very intense conversations about like, you know, like helicopter parenting and free range parenting. Well, they're just gonna get snatched up. Well,
Drone parenting.
and like there's like nothing has changed, right? Like it has just been the same. It's just like now, you know, what is it that what is it that you're being fed, and you're gonna watch, and you're gonna be like, oh no. As like if you go to any reservation, and like, you know, how many you know of our sisters, you know, have been getting killed, have been getting raped, have been getting abused physically, verbally, emotionally, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, so what are we gonna do about it? You know, like do you not feel bad about that, or you only feel bad about this because it's coming up and it's in your radar, and now it just seems just like it's just too close to home, you know. And on that note, we're gonna transition. Hopefully the audio didn't pick that up. My wife has been texting me and calling.
I know. I got a text message at one point.
Because she's not watching this. Because she doesn't watch this. She's just like, oh my God, honey, what are you?
No.
No, she's incredibly supportive. She's awesome. And she's like, you're like, oh man, this lady, I don't like her. She's the best. Best. And here we are. And this is what I want to talk about. And has been what I have been getting blown up about. And I haven't given an opinion and I haven't talked about. But it was really important for me to touch on that article before we moved into this, because it's all about context. And this has to do with the post from Lisa Sanchez.
Okay.
Okay, so Boise City Council member.
Okay.
Okay. And perhaps you have read it, perhaps you have not. And that's okay if you have not.
I haven't. I mean, I don't know.
There's so much. Well,
Yeah, I don't know.
It's an overwhelming amount of information.
Okay,
so
yeah,
it is not. So by the way, this is not like, aha, I got you, because that's not what I do to people that come here.
You know, bro, it's been a legitimately busy week.
Yeah, and I am.
So, like, I don't.
And I'm just like so shocked that you're actually here.
I'm telling you, it's Daniel. You owe Daniel a beer.
I owe a lot of private boxing classes once my hand heals.
Mm-hmm.
He did reach out 3 weeks ago. So why are you not here? Like, I'm sorry, coach. So she writes, to the parents of the white man Michael D. Wallace, I want to congratulate you on successfully having your son arrested, safely taken into custody by the Boise Police Department, and having him successfully bonded out of jail and home safe. You and your son won the race lottery.
Yeah.
Many black and brown families do not enjoy the same experience. First, there is no way that a group of black or brown young people will be allowed to do what we all saw white youth doing in downtown Boise during and after the peaceful, mournful vigil. Groups of black and brown youth are given a name whether it is true or not. Gangs. They are called gangs. Your white child and the gun-wielding white youth are described as simply exercising their First and Second Amendment rights. Again, their whiteness allows this to go unchallenged, while black and brown people are subjected to harsh consequences and even killed for much less. Brown and black parents will never allow their children to do what your son did, and this other white youth did. We have too much reverence for the dead and the mourning to allow foolishness. In my black, Mexican-American Texas mother's house, her rules for human decency superseded the rights of the land. She will have sat on me to keep me in the house before she allowed one of her children to visit hate and fear upon other people. Mm-hmm. Michael didn't accidentally bring a loaded gun that was easily discharged in a public place. He did that on purpose, and he did it knowing that he could. He tested the boundaries of his white supremacy and privilege, and now he knows what his community would allow him to do. Mm-hmm. Live through the night when he was the one who could have killed innocent people. Mm-hmm. Love, Lisa Sanchez, brown woman who chose not to have children for fear of their abuse and murder by white people. And then, in order to wrap up context with what she shared, there's a YouTube attachment which is missing from all the resharing of what she put, because shocking, Tai, people are pissed.
Yeah.
And this is a YouTube piece, it says white people have a very, very serious problem. Toni Morrison on Charlie Rose. we don't have enough time to go over who Toni Morrison is and the whole video over at Charlie Rose.
Google Toni Morrison, y'all.
And do so. And then if you are actually so concerned about what Boise City Council member Lisa Sanchez did share, go into her Facebook page because she does have the video there. And it's a very important piece that complements what she shared. Tai,
Sir.
why is it so difficult? And why is it so upsetting when people read this and they immediately say, why are you attacking the parents? Why are you promoting racism? And why is it that this has to become about race? When clearly, if you haven't been paying attention for the last few days, and I know and there's some stupid shit, I get it, because you're, so the rock and sand, the analogy, we're not going to go into it, but like, some people, I don't want to say that they're vibrating on a higher level, and then you're like, oh my God, like I'm beyond existentialism, and I'm just here, and everything's so much clear to me, but based on experience and knowledge, and just being out there and listening to other people, and gaining, more experience because of that, you see it under a different light. So like the little tiny little things, the noise, because we're not here to talk too much about the noise. We're already beat up gaslighting to that. Okay. So I'm so glad you're still laughing about that. But like things like, I'm not even gonna justify and go about it. We're not even gonna talk about all lives matters because we are so beyond that. And at that time, it's like we're just running in circles and we're not getting anywhere. Yeah. We're not growing together. But this is a little bit different. Because, and to me, to be a little bit selfish in my own segment, it has been very challenging because there are people watching right now who are asking for me to like tell them, well, what do you think? You're a brown guy, you're a military dude, you're a veteran. I happen to know you have a bunch of guns. I do. I like shooting. I like hunting, but I also have some stuff. And like those guns are not for freaking harvesting deer and elk. They're just like somebody's coming over, they're getting 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. And that's that, America. So that's where I want to transition to. Why is it that when she shares that, everybody, why are they so pissed? Why can they not see it the way we see it? What would you say to them?
Something I tell, like, if I had $1 for every time I answer this question for folks. Nobody wants to be racist. And the framework in our brains usually is that racism is some sort of individual character flaw. I'm not racist, I'm a good person. I'm not racist, I don't see color. I'm not racist, I don't do insert blah, blah, blah racist thing. Racism is insidious and deeply, deeply embedded into the backbone, the spine, the foundation of everything that we know as the United States of America. It's everywhere. And it's everywhere so much that we don't want to talk about it, right? That we don't see it as a system. We see it as these individual things. It's an individual person's problem. So let's start with that. We try to other racism as if it's something that individual folks are not capable of. So that's step number one. Mm-hmm. Number two is the fact that they also have white privilege. They are so comfortable in knowing that these systems of laws have protected everybody that looks like them their entire lives, has protected everybody that looks like their ancestors their entire lives, so that when it happens to their son, the law has done its job, right? That the law has protected their child. If that had been a black boy or man who accidentally discharged a firearm, Tamir Rice was 12 years old and they shot him over toys. Plastic toys, plastic gun, plastic whatever it was that he had. That is the system. That is the system that they don't want to see because that's a black boy, a thug in a city, right? There is so much racism in Boise and people don't want to see it. There's so much racism statewide in Idaho and nobody wants to see it because there's so much comfort and privilege and in safety. And I promise you, fellow Idahoans, the safety and the comfort you feel comes at the expense of black and brown and indigenous bodies. Time and time and time again. People are upset because they have to now face accountability. I am white, my son is safe, even though he broke the law. That boy who sodomized the special needs black child from up in Dietrich faces no fucking jail time. That's the shit. That's why this is a fight. That's why this is a battle and why this whole system needs to burn. I can give you case after case after case. And I can even give you the ones where police have killed white folks. I can give you the case of all of these like similar, almost parallel cases of what's happened to a black boy, also to a white boy, and the difference in their cases, and the difference in their sentence is what I'm trying to say, right? Nobody wants to turn into the fact or lean into the ugly truth that there is racist behavior in their children. They are enjoying and perpetuating white supremacy in their families behind their closed doors, right? Because I can only imagine what those conversations look like when they got home, right? You have a Second Amendment right, blah, blah, blah. And why the fuck do Americans only know the Second Amendment, right? There's a lot of other amendments, y'all.
There's a few more, but them guns and my free speech.
Yeah, I'm pro 14th Amendment all week long, but all we're talking about is the Second Amendment.
14th?
Oh, I cannot. And you know what's crazy? It doesn't matter how well versed in guns and rifles you are. I've misfired a rifle. I own a rifle. I own a pistol. I own weapons, right? But that's also because, one, indigenous hunting, harvesting animals, that kind of thing. Yeah. But for my own safety, I am not safe in Boise. As much as people want to tout that, I am not safe here.
Yeah.
I mean, you want me to go on that question? Because I really could keep going on that question. That's such a serious...
I think it is very serious, and that's why... Do you see why I said, let's take a breath?
Yeah. But here's also something I want to add to that.
Please.
I don't think, if you have white viewers right now who have not started their anti-racism journey, they won't have heard a word I just said. It can't come from me. So if I have, I'm going to leave folks with some advice. If you are a white person who has started your anti-racism journey, you have started reading the books, you have started asking the hard questions, you have started addressing your own privilege, you've started to address your own internalized supremacy, I encourage you to go collect your people, right? When you're sitting at your board meetings, when you're sitting in your HOA meetings, when you're sitting in PTA meetings, any committee, board of directors, classroom, work, wherever you are with other white folks, that's where your work starts. Because the white voice addressing anti-racism, anti-oppression is so much more powerful than my voice, because I'm still seen as other. I am still seen as less than, right? So at the end of all of this, right, what sounds like I'm just super anti-white, I'm not. I have white folks who have been taking care of me all fucking week. I wouldn't have ate food had it not been for some of the white folks in my life, because it's been that stressful and it's been a grieving process for me. This isn't about black versus white. This is about humans versus everybody who's racist, right? That's it. Humanity versus racism. That's where we're at right now. And that's why this conversation is super important.
Yeah. If only if it was easy if somebody wearing a swastika on their shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not.
Covert racism, also another TED Talk for a different day. Holy shit. I'm going to pin something on my Facebook. There is a public post of TED Talks that can help you start the conversation about why racism is complex and how to start those conversations and start to understand why those conversations are important. So there are resources on my Facebook for folks.
Thank you. And we can find you under Tai Simpson.
Tai Simpson.
TAI, Tango Alpha India.
Hey.
Simpson.
Like the TV show.
Just like the TV show. We're going to start wrapping this up over here. It is now, according to our lovely, awesome, kick-ass producer, Erica, 7:30. Wendy's falling asleep. Your sister, she's been incredibly supportive throughout this. She hasn't thrown her phone at my head,
she's
which
totally
I most certainly
blanket.
Appreciate.
She's at my TED Talk last year. All of the big shit in my life she's at, so I can't do big things without her.
And that's awesome. And that's awesome. Hey. I cannot thank you enough. This is not easy. And if it's not easy for you, because it is, but it isn't, and it's not easy for me because I'm a brown guy from a different country, I get it. And you do not know what you do not know. And if you're at home watching from your phone, your computer, whether you're sick of me asking questions and you are not necessarily being able to digest all the information and the wisdom that Tai is sharing with us, I get it. It's a challenge. I have pointed out a couple of times throughout this interview that we have to do this together. I have made many mistakes. I have been wrong before, and I am not proud of that. And as I now have become a father, to a couple of day walkers, my lovely children who, are 3 and 5, I guess that was the catalyst for me. And some things that have to change. I love this state. I love this city. I am a byproduct. I have mentioned through many episodes before, from the kindness and the support of the community here, which happens to be 91% white. Yeah. And I am grateful for that, and I don't forget that, and that's why I boomerang here. These are challenging conversations. These are not easy conversations. These are things that we all struggle with, myself included. I encourage you to also take a breath, just take a step back, and to grow. Baby steps are fine. If you want to have to do it all at once, that's on you too. In this, time of pandemic, perhaps you have a little bit more time. But I get it, and it's not easy. It is my sincerest hope that having this interview, because I know a lot of people that are close to me do not necessarily share my views and do not share, or perhaps didn't know how I felt about this. Perhaps you feel uncomfortable with what Tai has to share, and then I say, good, you should. Before this got started, the first thing I told Tai, I am so pumped, I am so excited, and I am so nervous. And for those of you that know my background and know me, I don't get nervous very often. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for taking the time if you have stuck around so long. Thank you again to Argos Productions, to Justin, to Erica, to Tai, the storyteller, her wonderful sister Wendy. I appreciate you being here and being her security safety blanket. And for those of you at home, I love you a long time. Nothing changes. There are some more challenges, conversations to be had. It's not easy, but if it's not easy, then it's going to be worth it. I love this town. I love this city. I love this state. I know you do too, and that's why we're still here. Do your best, and when in doubt, be kind to each other. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Tai.
You're welcome. To the revolution.
Cheers.
This is about Mood. This is about Brianna. This is about George. This is about Tony. This is about Emmett. Once upon a time, there lived a little boy down the street. Blue eyes, brown skin. I called him Khalil. But the world called him Thug.
Broken down, tired, living life merry-go-round. You can't find fighter. I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out and we'll move mountain. We can walk.